Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Mondays Down South. Once again, we are not recording on a Monday. There's actually no relation to Monday this week, but regardless, happy election week. We have a special guest on. He's actually my cousin, Matt Penny, living down in Raleigh, North Carolina, in his new home. So luckily, I had the privilege of going down to Raleigh a couple months ago, visiting him and Ev. We went out to an awesome brewery, Linwood Brewing Concern. I believe I got it right the second time around. But a ton of fun that weekend, and I was able to just, walk in with my luggage and crash at Matt's house. He didn't really have a choice but to let me in. So, Matt, thanks for joining the show here. And I'm not sure if you're a first-time listener, but welcome. And I'm not sure if you had any initial things you wanted to bring up, but welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I actually had not listened to the show until I was sent a post by James Wells, shout out to him, of your episode. I believe it was last week, and I heard just a super hot take from someone named Michael Dolan. So I had texted Zach about it and said, what is going on this podcast? And he had said, would you like to be a guest? And I said, absolutely. So happy to be here.
What was the hot take in particular?
It was that Taysom Hill will be taking 50% of the snaps in a few
That was a hot take.
And by the reaction on the three of y'all's faces, I could tell that you guys even knew it was a hot take. So,
I mean,
if
our hot take segment is getting people to want to come on our show, then clearly,
listen,
it's
that's
a good
what you
segment,
want
right?
with hot takes. So successful, yeah. So,
well, I just want
to
say, Catherine, we're very excited to have you on. I've been waiting to give you credit for that. I see, Zach tells me. No, it changed now. But Zach tells me his cousin Matt's coming on. I'm like, oh yeah, I've met the guy. We've gotten wings together. We've watched games together. And then I'm the Zoom host, and then on Zoom, it's like Catherine is trying to join your Zoom call, and I'm like, did some college kid accidentally call the wrong Zoom number or something? So that was one hell of an introduction.
She's the privileged one with the MacBook, so I'm stealing her laptop for the next hour.
Respect. Well, hey, we appreciate it. We're excited to have you on, man. Hey, you got any initial thoughts before we jump into hot takes?
Nah, just hoping to give everyone a 1 hour reprieve from all the politics, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Indeed. Let's get to sports, man. It's the best distraction. So with that being said, let's start off with hot takes, and let's go right to our guest, Mr. Penny over here. We like to make our guests go first. So, you got any hot takes for us, sir?
Is this for any sport?
For any sport,
anything.
All right. Well, I'll start off with a hot take. I actually have two, if that's cool. I have
go for it.
A semi-hot take, and then I actually mentioned this to Zach earlier in the week, and he loved it. It's a very super hot take. So my semi-hot take is Antonio Brown's returning this week. I have him on my fantasy team. We've heard he might play 10 snaps. He might play 35 snaps. I'm projecting he has at least 85 yards and a touchdown. Ooh. I think Bruce Arians is the kind of guy to use him right out of the gate, so I'm expecting to see that. My super hot take, if you guys don't know, I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. Carson Wentz obviously having a career horrible season. I've actually said this since his daughter was born a few months ago, that I believe Carson Wentz will pull an Andrew Luck and retire in the next 3 to 4 years. And the reason I say that is he's a super down-to-earth country guy, loves religion, loves his family, he has a hunting show, a hunting brand with his brother. As soon as I found out his wife was pregnant, I was like, this is bad news. And then as soon as she was born, super happy for the guy, obviously, but you can tell if you watch his post-game press conferences, he's just not into football as much as he used to be. And I think, he's had some horrible injuries himself. He's seen a lot of teammates go down with horrible injuries that are lifelong, affecting them between CTE and not being able to walk, not being able to hold your kid. If you watch his post-game, you can see something in his face where he's just not into football that much. So could be wrong, but I'm feeling he's going to be out of the league in the next 3 to 4 years. And I think the Eagles front office knows it, which is a reason why they drafted Jalen Hurts so high. So
you hit home with both those hot takes. One, because AB, I picked up in every single league that I could pick him up in the moment I got the news. So I have him on like 6 or 7 teams right now. So I'm all in on your 85 yards and a touchdown semi-hot take. I'm hoping that comes through. Secondly, I'm a massive Colts fan, if Zach hasn't told you that already. So Andrew Luck retiring early is
hits home.
like you have no idea, dude. Like I was out in Arlington and I like dipped and went home and was like in tears. Like you have no idea how bad that was for me. So for you to say that was bold, man. That was bold. And honestly, like I think his injuries might be a little bit different from Luck, but if it's for family reasons, I don't even know if I could fault him. Like it's honestly a smart move if he's got his own like adventures and other business like things that he's got going on. He's already getting paid plenty of money. Like if he gets to go spend time with his wife and kids and whatnot, then that's great. However, I do not think, and I'm not saying you said this, I do not think this excuses how terrible he has been this season. He has every avenue to win that division, and he's given every other team a chance. So I will say that. So that might help him retire a little bit earlier too if he keeps that up.
If we lose.
That actually ties into my hot take. It's kind of a biased Washington football team one. It's not really that just something I came up with. I think right now, at this very moment, I'm not talking like even 3 weeks from now, but right now, Kyle Allen is the best quarterback in the NFC East. Carson Wentz is awful.
Okay.
And
it's hard to argue that.
Daniel Jones on Monday night, he brought him back on that last nice drive, but I swear they could have had 50 points if he could throw the ball downfield. So,
yeah.
Ev, that's like me saying I'm the best pole vaulter on this podcast.
Trust me. Yeah, that's not a compliment to Kyle Allen. It's an indictment on Wentz, an indictment on Daniel Jones. But
Yeah.
I'll let these two respond to that. What do you guys think of that take?
I mean, all power to you. I saw this funny meme the other day that was like listing out all the different quarterbacks, like ranking them out in the NFC East thus far. And Dwayne Haskins and Rex Grossman, who's long retired, were ranking higher than Carson Wentz. So I thought that was actually pretty funny. I'm also not sure, speaking of memes, I'm not sure if you guys saw the meme that was like all over Instagram where you saw like the win probability graph between the Eagles and the Giants, not last game, but 2 games ago. And you saw Danny Dimes running like that infamous run downfield where he started to fall like 10 yards short of the end zone. And as like the win probability was getting greater and greater for the Giants, he started to slip and then it plummeted at the very end of the game because they choked it away. And I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but it was pretty funny. And I'll have to send it to you guys. But I mean, outside of that, Kyle Allen, he's playing pretty well, but nobody in the NFC East is impressive in my opinion. So that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna help our guest out here and just say I still think it's Wentz. Like even though he's playing badly, like talking to a guy that would have been an MVP if he didn't get hurt. Like there's no way I'm taking Kyle Allen over Carson Wentz. I do think the Redskins the Washington football team. I still gotta correct myself.
Attaboy.
I do, believe it or not, I actually think like Kyle Allen also has the best support system out of any of those quarterbacks right now. I mean, with Jones, he's got great receivers, but his O-line is awful. Carson Wentz literally has had the worst luck in terms of his receivers and like his weapons and Miles Sanders and everything. Like everybody gets hurt. I'm not saying that's an excuse for Carson Wentz overall because he's still making bad throws, but there's that. And then Dak Prescott's hurt. Otherwise, Dak would easily be the best out of that group. So with all things considered, a lot of things had to happen for Kyle Allen to even be considered in that conversation. But I'll give it to you.
All right, switching over to my hot take. I'm switching sports completely. We're gonna go to UFC because, first of all, I know Matt, Evan, and I are pretty big in the UFC here. We all watched the Khabib Justin Gaethje's fight in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. It was a pretty good card in my opinion, and I think the last main card was the Usman Masvidal fight from months ago. So I think everyone was really excited to see this fight. To no surprise, Khabib did exactly what Khabib does, pressures him. Justin Gaethje can't even take a breath. He starts to fade radically, landed a couple of nice leg kicks, but ultimately Khabib just took hold of him and was able to complete the submission for a second round victory. And now Khabib is 29-0. He's practically beat everyone except for Tony Ferguson. And so that's kind of like the law of the lands here. We'll see what happens in the lightweight division. But my hot take is I think Michael Chandler, the new guy, the new signee to the UFC, who actually backed up the fight as an alternate in case one of them caught COVID or missed weight. He's a new guy from Bellator, used to be a Bellator lightweight champion. I think that he's going to come into the UFC and make an immediate splash. And I would not be surprised if he is crowned champion in the lightweight division, because I've been following this guy for a long time and definitely biased. Because from a skill standpoint, I mean, there are definitely more aesthetically pleasing fighters, like Tony Ferguson's style, Conor McGregor stylistically is so much more fun to watch. But Michael Chandler is just a constant motor. And I think he would match up pretty well with a lot of those guys, including Khabib, because Michael Chandler is something that none of the other lightweights have, and that's supreme wrestling. He would be able, and he said on the Joe Rogan podcast before, that he would be able to withstand the pressure of Khabib and also be able to go toe-to-toe with him from a wrestling standpoint. So that's my hot take. Ev, Matt, I'm not sure how you guys feel about it. Mike Chandler's been catching a lot of flack too. There's not a lot of happy people that are current UFC fighters that are happy about him just coming on in, hasn't even had one UFC fight yet, and he's already backing up the Khabib-Justin fight as the alternate for the championship. So there's a lot of people that don't like him right now either.
Yeah, I just don't think anyone can beat Khabib right now. If he still wants to fight, obviously he retired after that fight. We'll see. I don't think Dana White believes him. I don't really believe him. I think he wants to go for 30-0, and he'll find one more fight. But I just don't see anyone beating him, or even really. I mean, say what you want about Gaethje being a little inconsistent, but like his last fight was just so incredible, and then Khabib just comes in and it was a cakewalk. He dominated him. So. I don't think anyone can touch him, but we'll see what happens. I think if you need an interim title fight, what's Khabib being retired, you can throw Chandler in the mix, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think before that fight, leading up to the fight, people were saying that, Justin was really the only guy that could compete, maybe upset Khabib, and, a minute into the second round, that thing's over. So I can't imagine anyone else in that fight class is going to touch him. I don't think this is the end of Khabib. I think if McGregor can't pull him out of retirement, someone will. He's obviously super distraught over his dad dying, but in time that'll pass. He's still super young. I mean, I can't imagine that's the last we'll see of him, but I don't know. I don't even know if McGregor could beat him, to be honest. It looked a little easy for Khabib to do it last time, so I can't see anyone touch him. I haven't seen this guy you're talking about, Zach. I'll have to watch his tape, but I can't imagine he can touch Khabib right now. That dude's just lethal.
So I'm gonna jump in here, and usually I don't talk a lot during UFC segments because I don't know a lot and I don't watch a lot, but I do want to get a plug in real quick. And if Mike Chandler, you happen to see the show by any means, thanks to Z Money over here, I've been a loyal Instagram follower of yours for like a year and a half, so I can definitely see why Zach is big on you. You're very motivational. We appreciate all the posts of your adorable family. Please hit us with a follow and, share our content. So there's my plug for the UFC. Subscribe.
I like it.
That's all I have for the UFC. Zach, please respond if you have anything else.
No, that's it. Sai, I think you're the final one with the hot take. What do you got? You're going to bring
it. Here's my hot take. The Rays will not win a playoff series next year. I will be surprised if they make the playoffs next year with their with the way they're going to be cutting salary coming into the season after representing the AL in the World Series. And one of the reasons I even wanted to make that hot take is because Ev and I definitely had to talk about the World Series just a little bit. For those people that don't know, and I'm sure most do, the Dodgers won the World Series. That makes two LA teams that have managed to win a championship within a month of each other. And LA has not really been able to celebrate in the way that I'm sure they would have hoped to have been able to in these weird times. But yeah, so Ev, I don't know if you got anything in particular you want to point to, but that was a great series, and I just don't think that people gave the Rays the credit that they deserved. They took it down to the wire. I know it was 6, but it was very close to being 7, and there was some fun situations. So, E, you got any comments?
Yeah, I don't agree with your hot take just because I think the Rays have proven that they can win without a payroll. And I mean, they've slashed Morton at this point. They've slashed Zunino. I don't think that hurts them too bad. But yeah, overall, just the series, I think like Mookie Betts was the difference. I think you could clearly tell from the Dodgers being right there and going over the top. I mean, he just added that star power, the defense and right, the bat leading off, the base running, amazing base running. I think he was the difference, and the Astros' inability to bang trash cans was a difference. But and then shout out Kevin Cash for completely blowing Game 6. I mean, that was one of the worst decisions I've seen in a baseball playoff game of all time. Honorable mention to the Orioles and the Zach Britton debacle from a few years ago. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in free agency. As you said, I think there's going to be a lot of teams trying to cut payroll with the lack of revenues from this season. So we'll see what happens. But fun season, short season, enjoyed it. Best team won. Overall, all good.
Ev knows why I'm fist bumping, because he said a lot of teams are cutting payroll. And
Not y'all.
Nets just got a $14 billion man in Steve Cohen as their new owner. And he is the richest owner in baseball by 3 times the net value of the second wealthiest. So I'm sitting here super excited because, free agents is coming around. Everybody's talking about JT Realmuto and George Springer and Trevor Bauer and all these guys as options. And I'm getting super excited. So this offseason is going to be very exciting for me. Just real quick, I'm going to respond and we'll jump into something else. I do agree with you that the Rays have done an amazing job of being able to do a lot with a little in terms of payroll. Although seeing what they did offensively this season, like especially going into the playoffs, and then seeing the fact that they weren't even willing to re-sign Morton for, what was it, $10 million? I realized he didn't have a great season, but they are almost like getting back into that territory of pigeonholing themselves too much in terms of payroll for me to feel like they could compete again, especially if teams like the Yankees and these other teams get healthier and they're still able to at least keep their payroll around that, $200 million mark, which is just so much more than what the Rays have. So that's my take on that. But, like you said, their analytics are amazing, so they could pull it off again. I also don't want to give Kevin Cash too much flack because that was an awful move, but they wouldn't be where they were if it wasn't for his managing either. Like, he did an amazing job with what he had over the last couple of seasons. So that's my take. Zach, Penny, I don't know if either of you guys were tracking. So if you guys have anything MLB related, please feel free to respond. If not, we can jump right into our usual stuff.
Yeah, actually, I really wanted to pivot right into the NFL games. Maybe mention 1 or 2 games before we jump into our prediction segment. But Sai, I have to bring this up because Sai and I were watching the games on Sunday, and we're watching the TV, and we're obviously there's so many fantasy implications, I should say. Just given the fact that we were both, it's now right around the middle of the season. You've started to formulate who's a good team, who's a bad team, and we get to the Green Bay, Minnesota game and talk about fantasy implications. We had Devontae Adams in some leagues, and we had Dalvin Cook in other leagues. And both of those guys went off in that game. I'm not sure if you guys were able to watch that specific game, but we had a great angle of it based on where we were sitting in the restaurant. But whether it was a Devontae touchdown countered with a Dalvin Cook touchdown and vice versa, I think that the two of them combined for 5 total touchdowns in that game.
Seven. Dalvin had 4. Devontae had 3.
Dalvin had 4, yeah.
Oh,
I don't think Devontae had 3. Devontae had 2.
He had 3. No, he had
Devontae
3
had
touchdowns.
3.
He had 3 touchdowns. I have both of them in fantasy. Trust me, I know.
Now, so Sai, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and Matt knows this, and I think
I was about to ask if this had been mentioned to your fellow podcasters.
Did you lose with Dalvin Cook on your team?
I lost.
Oh yeah. My gosh, dude. As soon as you said that, I was like, do not let that sentence come out of your mouth. Like, that has gotta hurt. What happened? Like, please tell the listeners, how do you lose that match?
Like 1.5 points, and it was just the fact that I was playing the unlucky opponent who also went off that week. So, and that was a crucial game for me, as Matt knows. Matt and I were both 4-3 going into that game, and this is a league that's from 4-3
close right now.
There's like 7 or 8 teams. It was crucial. I was really pissed the next morning, but yeah. So that was the game I wanted to bring up. You guys want to bring up some any other ones that caught your eye?
I'm gonna drop a quick stat in there. So I saw this weekend. Like, I think Pro Football Focus does a weekly like top 5 players that led their owners to victory, and I think Dalvin Cook, like 86% of teams that had Dalvin Cook won this week in fantasy, which is like an absurd number. Like, that is, like, compared to other weeks, like usually the highest you see is like 70, maybe less, like 86%, because he had over 200 yards and over 4 touchdowns. And I have him like 6 leagues. I've been like the biggest Dalvin Cook proponent over the last 2 years, as Ev knows and Zach knows. And now, Penny, like, I love him in fantasy. So seeing that payoff just made me so happy. But I'll kick it over to these guys. I do think we should touch on Monday Night Football real quick, because the frustration I had of seeing these super overhyped Buccaneers team from last week, which I talked about in last week's podcast, the Giant, like Daniel Jones was playing defense for the Buccaneers that game, and they still only won by 2 points. Like, and everybody and then their mothers wanted to declare the Buccaneers the Super Bowl champs last week after their showing. So I just want to get your thoughts on that, because I'm feeling pretty good about my take of the Bucs being overrated. But I'll let you guys touch on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to say the Bucs are overrated. I think Tom Brady is still showing that he's timeless. If you look at their schedule with the classic trap game, I'm not saying the Raiders are great, but they had the Raiders the week before. They had the Saints this week. It's a classic game they overlooked, especially on Monday Night Football with how bad the Giants are. But I was playing against Tom Brady, Ronald Jones, and the Bucs defense in that game, so I was super happy with the result. But yeah, I don't know. I think especially you have to remember that they were going to have Antonio Brown this week. They're getting Chris Godwin back this week. O.J. Howard's still out, but he still has Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, Mike Evans, obviously. So, I mean, I want to say Carson Wentz could win with those weapons. I don't think he could, but my point is most quarterbacks can win with those weapons. Their defense is still playing great. It was an awful showing for the Bucs to let the Giants stay that close. They ultimately got the win, but I don't know. If they lose the Saints this week, it might be – you might be right. It might be time to start thinking about the Bucs as being overrated, though.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. And my fantasy tie-in to both of those is that I was able to beat a team with Dalvin Cook on it because Ryan Suckup outscored Ronald Jones and the Tampa Bay defense combined. It was great. But shout out the kickers. But, yeah, I'm going to agree. I mean, we said, I think a couple of us picked it in our picks that the Giants would cover that just because it was kind of a trap game. I mean, the Giants have been playing better. Like, they played well the last time they were out there. I don't know if they had a bye off of that. But, I mean, they should have easily won that game, like I said, with how many throws Daniel Jones missed.
Exactly.
The Tampa Bay defense was, for the first time in a long time, a little concerning. But overall, I'm not that concerned. They'll get, like you said, Matt, they'll get Godwin back. AB will come on. And I mean, Sunday night's game will be great. But we'll see.
Zach, you got any thoughts on it? I got one little rebuttal after you go, but.
I still think New Orleans is going to win that division, and I can't necessarily explain why, but the fact that they get Michael Thomas back, the fact that they're still sneaking out wins somehow, some way, I think is crucial. I mean, this is now like the third or fourth game that New Orleans has stolen by 3 points, or definitely less than a touchdown, I would say. And so I believe they're still a 2-loss team, and so just as a result of that, they're much. You can't count Drew Brees out. I do think one thing that is really interesting is that the hunt for the top of the NFC South will continue to go back and forth between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints, when Tom Brady and Drew Brees are just going to continue to surpass each other from a all-times passing touchdown. I think that's really, really special in itself. And I look forward to see Tom Brady, supersede Brees, and then for Brees to have a good game as they both fight for that first position in the NFC South. It's also going to be really cool to see them, hunt for that milestone as well. So it's cool.
Yeah. So like real quick on what you guys are saying, you're right. They're out Godwin. You're right that it could have been a trap game, but like we're talking about the Giants without their best player all season, like Saquon Barkley. And then on top of that, Devonta Freeman didn't play. And they still should have won that game by like 3 scores and basically didn't because Daniel Jones was a walking turnover and they lost by 2 points on what could have been a pass interference in the end zone. So that's basically my point, right? Because I think everybody has basically been saying like, the Saints aren't that good. Like Drew Brees' arm strength is down. Like everybody was saying at the beginning of the season, they're managing to win games with Michael Thomas out. And every single game, like if there's one thing they've proven over the last 2 years, like no matter the circumstances, they find a way to win. Because last year you saw Brees out for half the season and they were still winning games. Like they don't lose. Meanwhile, the Bucs, like Brady, he gets the hype, and deservedly so. When you're arguably the GOAT and you have 5 Super Bowls and all that, you should get the hype. But I also think like in the hype of him and his previous accomplishments, along with his like great games against like bad teams where he's thrown for 4 or 5 touchdowns, which is great. I think he gets a little bit too much hype, right? Because regardless, even with Chris Godwin out, like that game shouldn't have been close. Like, there's a reason he's slamming his helmet into the bench halfway through the game. So the only reason I'm making such a strong take about this is last week I came out and I said, I still think the Bucs are super overrated. And I was like, we'll just watch as we go forward. And if the Saints get Michael Thomas back, I'm really excited to see what happens in that game. I really hope they get Michael Thomas back. I'm getting tired of all the disrespect to the Saints. Like, I really hope they get Michael Thomas back and we get to see what they can do. And they actually made a huge trade for what is it, a linebacker from the 49ers?
Quan Alexander, yeah.
Quan Alexander. That was a huge trade. I can't believe they got him for so cheap too. Like that's going to be massive for them. So that's one thing to keep in mind, real quick. So yeah, Penny, I'm gonna throw it over to you. You got any games this weekend that you like that you wanna bring up, or anything like that blew your mind or anything like that?
No, I actually was going to touch on the same game because, I mean, that is a good point I didn't really think about because, I mean, Wayne Gallman rushed for 45 yards on 12 carries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's almost 4 yards a carry there, had a touchdown. I mean, you throw Saquon into that equation, God only knows how much he's running for. But one thing my friends and I were talking about, too, is it's funny to see Brady in a new system because the play we were talking about was the 4th and 2 on the Giants, like 35-yard line or 40-yard line. And they ended up kicking the field goal, and Brady clearly wanted to go for it. And Arians was like, no, we're going to kick it. But I was like, 4th and 2 is where Brady shines. He loves that. He loves the short, shallow route. You've got Gronkowski. Just throw the ball to Gronkowski. There's no linebacker or cornerback who's defending that ball. So I think that has a lot to do with it. He doesn't have Belichick anymore. I think they were two people that need each other. Belichick obviously needs Brady. Brady kind of misses Belichick. So it's something to keep my eye on. As far as this week, though, I haven't really looked, so I'll let one of y'all go real quick. Look at
That's actually a good tie-in to, the Pats-Bills, which was a good game. Cam kind of comes up a little bit short with that fumble, but it's like this is really starting to look bad for Belichick on the other end of this. I mean, say what you want about the Bucs. Maybe they are a little overrated, but granted, keeping it close with the Bills with a chance to win there at the end isn't bad, but it's starting to look a little dicey there in New England.
I'm not that out on Belichick. I'm out on Cam. Like, y'all came in here saying, Ev came in here week 1 saying Cam Newton is going to be like in the MVP conversation. And if you want to talk honestly, 2 or 3 of those Patriots losses were like on Cam Newton more than anything else. Like, it's not because of bad coaching. Like this
COVID's fault.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. COVID is the one that's throwing those horrendous interceptions
or fumbling on the game-winning drive. Like,
he threw 3 picks straight into the hands of the defensive.
I know, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, who's his number 1 receiver right now?
Jacoby Myers.
Could you even name him?
No, but yeah. Regardless though, right? Like he's been more a liability than a plus this season. Like
we got one more we got to talk about. Yeah.
What is it?
You're gonna bring up good old Mr. Herbert and the.
Oh no, we got to talk about Pittsburgh-Baltimore. I mean, that was the biggest game of the weekend.
Oh yeah.
1,000%.
Obviously, Pittsburgh gets it done on the road. Baltimore coming off of a bye. Lamar looked terrible. What do you guys think?
So I can probably start this off because Lamar did not look good, but he's still actually having an above average season from a quarterback standpoint. I feel like people are like running the red alert and signaling the alarm in Baltimore when they don't necessarily need to be. They still have a phenomenal team. They had a couple players out for COVID. They played the only remaining undefeated team in the NFL. And Lamar is just inevitably being compared to his unanimous MVP season from last year. So it's not time to pump the brakes on Baltimore quite yet. Now, they didn't have a great game, but they still have an opportunity later in the season to get redemption now, albeit it's going to be in Pittsburgh. But one thing I do want to point out is Marquise Brown, I really don't want you to become your cousin Antonio Brown. Stop yapping on Twitter. I would meet with Lamar personally if you haven't already. Maybe stay after practice for another hour, run a couple routes with him. You're getting your touchdowns. You're just not getting yards and opportunities because all you do is run a deep ball route. So, I wanted to signal my frustration with some of these players on Baltimore yapping on Twitter at, subtly jabbing at Lamar Jackson for his playing abilities. But I think Lamar's playing fine. And honestly, guys, I think Baltimore is going to be just fine too. I think they're going to be a 12-4, 11-5 wild card team. And I don't think they're going to experience much issues. And I do think that they beat Pittsburgh the next time around. So that's kind of my thought on the game.
Yeah, take Benny. I know me and Zach are going to go a little back and forth on this one, so I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Zach. I hate to keep bringing up the Eagles, but it's the same thing that happened with Carson Wentz after the year that he was in the running for MVP. Zach's got a great point. With a young quarterback who plays significantly well, they're always going to be compared to that one season, even if they drop off a tiny bit. Lamar looked terrible that game. I think he had, what, 4 turnovers? 3
Yeah,
I
turnovers?
think it was
Something
4.
like that.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
It was
so
3 or 4, yeah.
it was an awful game. I do like J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards looked good, especially against Pittsburgh's run defense. But I agree. I'm not concerned about Baltimore. On the flip side of that, Big Ben looks like he's in his prime right now. He's playing incredibly well, even with the weapons. I mean, he's got great weapons, but Pittsburgh as a whole just looks like the most complete team right now. I think they're the only ones that can compete with the Chiefs. I would have said the Bills before last week, but yeah, I mean, I don't think Ravens are a bad team. I don't see them beating Pittsburgh again. I don't think the game should have been that close because Pittsburgh definitely played better. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they play each other here in the next few weeks again, so we'll see. I'll flip it to you guys.
You know what gets me on this subject? Like, we all started talking about the Ravens first, and we should be talking about the Steelers first, because I said 2 weeks ago, the Steelers are probably the best team in the NFL right now, and the one that nobody wants to give credit to. Last week, everybody's talking about the Buccaneers or your potential Super Bowl champions, and then everybody's like, "Oh, if it's not the Bucs, it's the Chiefs." And I'm sitting here going, "Hold on, wait a minute. Where are the Steelers in the conversation? This undefeated team that just beat an undefeated team this week before, and then beat a great division rival again this week on the road, and yet somehow people still aren't talking about the Steelers." Like, I think now we're starting to, but look, they have an amazing defense. Regardless of whether Lamar has regressed or not, like, doesn't matter who they played. They made everybody look bad in terms of like the quarterback play. They're the closest like team to having stopped Derrick Henry, and they stopped pretty much every other run game that they could. The one thing with the Ravens, and that's where you got to give them credit, is they committed to it, even though the Steelers are terrific as a run defense. But that also probably ultimately led to the Steelers winning that game because they were able to control the game. Even if the Ravens were running the ball somewhat decently, like their offense took advantage of the weapons that they had. And for the most part, they caused those turnovers on Lamar. So the one thing I want to say before anything else is the Steelers are the best team in the NFL right now. And it's not, are they the team that can hang with the Chiefs, in my opinion? It's, are the Chiefs going to be able to hang with the Steelers, in my opinion? And real quick about Marquise Brown, I do agree with you, Zach. And like, after we had that conversation over text the other day, I thought about it more. And I do agree that it's absurd that he's complaining the way that he is and on the platform that he is. The main point that I was making for the listeners and viewers, and for Penny, who wasn't part of that conversation because Ev saw it, is I do get, if I was a young receiver who, in my opinion, is talented. Zach, I know, like, says he's a deep route runner. I think he can be way more than that. If I'm on the Ravens and I'm as good as I think I am, Marquise Brown being the 25th overall pick in the NFL draft and having those wheels, and I think he's a good route runner, I can sometimes get a little frustrated about the fact that, like, when your team is losing games, you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I was more utilized. Because when you have a guy with his talent, which I think he's very talented, the Ravens aren't the best at using wide receivers. And quite frankly, they just haven't been in a long time, because their methodology is run the ball, and then throw it to Mark Andrews in the end zone, and then once or twice a game try to take one deep shot, right? So I think that's where his frustration comes from, but I think he needs to voice it differently. And like Zach said, I think he needs to go have that conversation in person with his team and say, hey, I want to be utilized more. I think I should be utilized more. So Zach is correct about that point for sure. Kicking it over to you, man.
Yeah, that was I'll summarize my takes here. I think it's hard to put the Steelers ahead of the Chiefs, but I certainly won't give you a hard time for that. I mean, like we said last week, they look amazing. I am kind of out on Baltimore. Like, I don't think they're bad, but I think they're a fringe playoff team. I don't see them making any noise in the playoffs unless Lamar miraculously starts playing a lot better. I guess it wouldn't be miraculous, but I just haven't been impressed with them all year long. I guess those are the big ones. Yeah. Zach, anything else?
I have a question here for you guys before we transition to the projections. Who do you think wins Rookie of the Year, Herbert or Burrow, based on the way they're both playing right now? It's tough.
Herbert.
I love them both so much.
I got Burrow. I think Burrow outplays him, but Herbert's looking great right now.
Burrow has the advantage of playing one more week, but I'm picking. Here's the thing: I absolutely love both of them. I still think Burrow could be the best guy out of this class. Being the first one. That's not a bold statement by any means, but I think Herbert wins it this year because every single game he goes out there and throws for like 3 to 4 touchdowns. It's absurd.
They have one.
I'm thinking.
Good point.
Yeah. I'm picking Herbert.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to beat Herbert's numbers. I mean, Burrow's like the moxie and the leadership is all great, but when you look at the numbers, I just it's going to be tough for Burrow to match him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I drafted Drew Brees in fantasy, and I picked up Herbert off waiver wire, and I just released Drew Brees. I've been starting Herbert the last couple of weeks. You got to give Burrow some credit. The dude's playing with basically no offensive line. Herbert, I think, has better weapons with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. But, yeah, I mean, like you guys said, his numbers are insane. I mean, he's putting up 3 to 4 touchdowns a week, so you can't touch those kind of numbers. So I think right now he's got it won.
I love
they did just beat.
Neither are playing with offensive lines right now. They're both running for their lives.
Yes, they are.
And I will say the one thing that plays in a Burrow is he just beat the Titans by 2 scores without an offensive line, who were supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL as of like a week or two ago. So that was pretty darn impressive.
Burrow's chance if he keeps actually winning games, because the Chargers seem to keep blowing every game in the last few minutes for some reason. But if Burrow keeps winning games, then that's his. Yeah.
Who has worse crumbling in the fourth quarter right now, the Chargers or the Falcons?
Well, I think they actually play each other later this season, so I guess only
Oh, man.
But the Falcons have somehow been able to salvage some of their victories last minute. That win against Carolina was nice. But no, I'm cracking up because Cy brought up the Tennessee Titans Bengals game, and I was watching that game, and I was just like thinking to myself, like Burrow was running zigzagging around the field just to avoid a sack, and I was like, man, he's burning some Jadeveon Clowney's. There's some extra calories you're burning when you're running away from that guy. I mean, that's like you have to run. You must have been exhausted after that. But that's probably it for me. Yeah, if you want to kick it over to you for the analytics and then predictions, and then we'll knock this out.
Yeah, quickly looking at last week. Obviously, we didn't have you on, Zach, but Cy and Holden, our guest, tied for first, 9-5, so pretty good. I had a bit of a rough week, 7-7, so only broke even on 500. That's not good, not good. If we look at the season as a whole, I guess Cy is still ahead of Zach and I. But Zach, you by not participating passed me in the year-to-date standings. So
I love it. Do more of those.
That's me cracking up.
That's actually hilarious. I mean, not participating. I did better than you.
Yep, I went below my season average. So we'll see how it goes. Guests have been really good, Matt. So you got some high expectations.
The bar set high.
The guest numbers are usually pretty strong. So we'll see what happens. But
all right, cool. Well, speaking of which, over to Matt for this first game, Thursday night matchup. We have the Green Bay Packers playing at the 49ers. The spread right now is 7 to Green Bay, despite the fact they're playing away. I know Kittle's out. I know Garoppolo's out. Matt, who you got?
I mean, I'm just worried if the 49ers have enough players to field the team right now. They have pretty much everybody out. Even healthy, the 49ers looked awful last week with Jimmy Garoppolo starting. The only reason I made that game close is because it was garbage time. They were down by like 25 points. I'm absolutely taking the Packers here, 100%.
Yeah, I got Packers, and it's not close. I mean, even like they've got COVID cases this week. Like even Kendrick Bourne is now can't play because he has COVID. So.
Yeah, so Zach and Evan know that in our home league, I have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams as a stack, and I love that stack, and I hope that stack gets me like 3 more touchdowns, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did because there won't be a single Packers starting running back on that field as 3 of them are out this week. So I'm taking the Packers, and I'm taking a big passing game for that too. So I got the Packers.
Yeah, if the 49ers need some more players, I heard the Stonebridge football teams, looking to be, they would be active participants. So I've got the Packers in a landslide as well away in San Fran. Switching it over to the next game here, one of our first 1 p.m.ers. The Denver Broncos are playing at the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons will be using that fake crowd noise in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, and they're favored by 4. Cy, kicking it over to you for this one, and then we'll go to Evan, then Matt.
If I remember correctly, I think I've picked the Falcons the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to pick the Falcons for the 3rd week in a row because I think they're going to win this weekend again. I think they got some good mojo going right now. And with Calvin Ridley out, by the way.
True.
Ooh. Yeah, Falcons. I'll go Falcons.
Yep. I'm going Falcons too. I heard a lot about how good Denver's defense was last week. Chargers dropped 30 on them, so I think Falcons can put up more than that. Also, Drew Lock might be one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So
Yeah, he is
I'll take
not.
Falcons.
He is not looking good. That's 4 for Atlanta. Switching it over to, I guess NFC AFC matchup here. It's gonna be interesting. The 6-1 Seattle Seahawks play at the Buffalo Bills 6-2. Bills fresh off a win, a much needed win. Spread is 3 Seattle's way. Matt, starting with you here, what you got?
I'm all on Seattle. I think Russell Wilson is MVP still. That offense is absolutely unstoppable. Even if Chris Carson's out, Russell Wilson just gets it done. Bills have looked dicey last couple of weeks. I think Russell puts up 30 plus on them, so I'm going Seahawks.
Go ahead, E.
I'm gonna go Bills at home, but yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know.
DK Metcalf is maybe the most obvious star that somehow people were still not in on for whatever reason, and he is just making everybody look like total idiots that didn't pick him. The Seahawks, I got them winning, and I got Metcalf just balling again.
I've got the Seahawks as well, and just a quick shout out to myself in our auction league, the league I'm 8-0 in. I got Metcalf in the 5th round.
You
So
did.
just expert drafter over here, guys. You guys got to get on my level.
Wait, an auction and you got him in the 5th round?
5th round, yeah.
Come on, Zach.
Expert drafter here doesn't even know what rounds are in auction league, but go ahead, buddy.
Okay, it's my 5th.
Zach, did you see who slid into number 2 in the final standings projections this week?
Is that you guys?
Yep.
That's just because you guys had your first good week in a long time. You guys
Whoa,
what are you talking about?
Whoa.
This guy ain't paying attention.
Relax.
All right, anyway, keep going, man. We're derailing the
You guys are
segment.
3 games behind. I can't hear you from first place.
Come see me in the home league, buddy.
We have
See me in the home league.
the next game, Chicago Bears playing at the Titans. Spread is 6 Tennessee's way. Ev, you're a big Derrick Henry guy. Do you got the Titans in this one?
I do. I don't think they'll lose after that Bengals one at home. I think they'll get it done.
Matt?
Yeah, the Bears' offense is non-existent. The only reason they're staying in games is because of their defense. Derrick Henry, I think, I don't know. People can contain him, but they're not going to shut him down. I have to imagine he's going to run for at least 70, 80 yards, which I think will be enough with Ryan Tannehill's performance. So I'm going Titans.
Did you say this was in Chicago or this was in Tennessee?
This is in Tennessee.
In Tennessee, and Allen Robinson is playing, right?
He played last week.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. I'm picking the Bears.
Wow.
I'm picking the Bears.
Mims is out though, Cy.
Yeah, that doesn't change anything for me. I'm picking the Bears. That defense has been showing up, and quite frankly, Tennessee has just not looked good against the Bengals. I could see the Bears taking this one.
I think Tennessee bounces back and get a win here. But the next game is really interesting. Both 5-2 teams. The Baltimore Ravens are playing at the Indianapolis Colts. Cy, you're a big Colts fan, so I'll start with you. Right now, the spread is 2.5 Baltimore's way. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to let you guys know. T.Y. Hilton's probably not playing this game, and Paris Campbell's out. And so if you guys want to pick the Colts, it's going to be a tough one for you because Jonathan Taylor also has a little bit of an ankle injury. And I'm still picking my Colts because I expect our defense to show up, and I just really want to go get this win, and I can't pick against them this weekend. So I'm taking my Colts.
Yeah, I'm going to go Colts here as well. I'm kind of out on Baltimore.
If they were both healthy, I would say Colts. With the injuries you just mentioned, I'm going Ravens.
But, yeah, whatever.
I'm going Ravens too. And honestly, for fantasy owners, I would actually recommend starting T.Y. Hilton because he's probably going to get you more points this week by sitting out than he has the previous couple.
I was going to say he's been a non-factor anyway.
I don't think you guys are giving him enough credit, but fair. Keep going.
That's true. Phillip Rivers is utilizing other players. He's kind of taking away the deep threat. But all right, cool. Next game, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Chiefs. I'll start with this one. Right now, the spread is 11 Kansas City's way. I think Kansas City wins, but I weirdly think the Panthers cover here. So that's my stance. But Ev, kicking it over to you.
Yeah, McCaffrey should be back, so I kind of agree with that assessment. Chiefs win, Panthers maybe cover.
I'll go
Yep.
Chiefs. Chiefs.
Yep. I think it'll be closer with McCaffrey playing, but I don't think their defense can stop the Chiefs.
Cool. Kicking it over to the NFC North, the Lions and Vikings. I'll start with this one too. Why not? Just running on this momentum here. I've got Minnesota. I think Minnesota bounces back at home. I just love the offensive weapons they have. I'm really hoping Dalvin turns 4 touchdowns into 5 this week. I've got Minnesota in a landslide victory. So that's me, but Ev, kicking it over to you.
Yeah, Minnesota obviously looks pretty good after handling the Packers pretty easily. And Stafford actually might not be able to play. I bet he will because he is on the COVID list for, I think, coming into contact with someone that might have COVID or something like that. So he still would be eligible, I think, if he tests negative. So he probably will still be fine. But I got Vikings either way, even if he plays.
Yeah, so Stafford's already had COVID, so hopefully that means it's not coming back because that would be kind of big if he did. But also Kenny Galladay's out, so that's a huge point for this weekend. So I'm taking the Vikings, and I just hope they roll Dalvin Cook like they did last week because that man will carry you to a victory, as he proved.
Yep, same. Even healthy, I'd take the Vikings. You talk about Stafford and Galladay both possibly being out. It's going to be a landslide for Minnesota.
Cool. Next game, Giants, Washington football team. Ev, kicking it over to you. What do you got?
I think this is going to be a sneaky, semi-well-played game for this division. The Giants have looked pretty good. Washington football team coming off a bye and a nice win. I'm going to take the football team at home. They're 2-0 in division games at home this year. They beat the other 2 at home. So I'm going to say they sweep the home games.
Division games, of course. The worst division.
Only wins are home division games. Let's make it 3.
What a nuanced take. Go ahead, Zach.
I've got Washington winning this one. I think it will come down to a 2-point conversion, and this time I think they convert. I got Washington.
Who you got, Penny?
Yeah, I'm going Washington. They get after the quarterback. I mean, their front 7 is nasty. Daniel Jones clearly doesn't do well under pressure. I think he's going to have a terrible day. So whatever the spread is, I'm taking Washington to cover. I think it's actually -3 the Giants. Is that right?
It is -2.5 Washington's way, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I'll take Washington to cover that.
This is about to be a historic week on MDS because after 4 people picked Zach's Falcons, we're about to have 4 people pick the team with no name in the Washington football team. So I'm rolling with them as well.
It's like when we all picked the Cowboys to beat Arizona and they lost by like 40.
I know. I'm not feeling confident about these picks. All right, I need one-word answers on this one because this game is meaningless. Texans, Jaguars. I've got Houston. They're both 1-6, and Houston's projected to win by 7. What do you guys got?
New quarterback in Jacksonville, though, but Houston. I don't even know his name.
I don't even know who's playing quarterback.
Does anyone know it? Yeah. Does anyone even know his name?
It's Luke Jolton or Jolton or something.
Yep, I'm going Houston after hearing that.
I picked up the Houston defense in about every league that I could pick them up. Houston.
Good call. All right, cool, guys. Switching over to our 405s. We're almost done here. Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Interesting divisional matchup. Sai, kicking it over to you to start us off.
This is going to be a really hard one for me. But you know what? I'm going to take the Raiders. I think they start rolling a little bit more with Josh Jacobs. I think they need to get Waller a little bit more involved. I think the Raiders will take this one.
Yeah, the Raiders are pretty good. So I'm going to go Raiders. And this is, Zach, this line is even right now. I get it's in LA, but even line for the Raiders.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm
going Raiders as well. Matt, what about you?
I'm going Chargers. I'm riding my boy Herbert. He looked good last week. He's looked good the last couple of weeks, but yeah, I don't know. I just trust their air attack more than I trust Derek Carr right now.
That's fair. I respect that. And kicking it over to this game here, the Steelers and the Cowboys. Ev, I'll let you lead this one off here. The spread is 14. And Ev, I've noticed that you haven't put your Evan staple pick in yet. I'm not sure if it's approaching here or if it's just you don't feel confident in the spreads this week.
My lock actually is probably that's a tough one because the Raiders would need to win. I don't know, but Steelers are definitely going to win this game. I don't know about the spread, but
I got Steelers.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go. I think the Steelers will win, but I think Dalton and the Cowboys will cover the spread this week. I don't think
Dalton's not playing.
Yeah,
Dalton's not going to do that.
It's going to be Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert.
They're They're having
I
a
take that
quarterback
back.
competition in practice this week for who gets to start.
Alrighty,
the best defense in the league.
I take that one back. I'm gonna take the Steelers to cover the spread. Let me pull that one back real quick.
Yeah, I mean, their offense was the only thing even remotely keeping them in games, and now they don't have an offense. So the spread could be 50 points. I'll take the Steelers. The
It's
Cowboys
on
are
if
not winning another game.
The spread could be
it's on if the Steelers want to beat them by more than 14, or you know what I
True,
mean?
yeah.
It's like, what are the Steelers choosing?
The only way they don't cover is if they for some reason, which they might do, pull all of their starters at halftime.
Yeah, something like that. Zach, we might want to bet that one actually.
All right, this is my staple lock-it-in bet of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, throw some money on it. The last time we did something like this, Ev and I won $50 each on Green Bay covering a 3.5 spread against the Texans. This is how confident I am in this one. I think the Cardinals at home beat the Dolphins and cover a 4.5 spread. I think everyone's on the Miami wavelength here because of Tua. Guys, Tua only threw one touchdown pass, and it wasn't even that nice of a touchdown. All the other touchdowns came from special teams and defense. So I think Kyler, I believe coming off a bye here, I think they just come in refreshed, locked and loaded at home and decimate. I've got the Cardinals covering 4.5 in this one. But, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I was not impressed with Tua last week. People were talking about how his stat line wasn't that bad. His touchdown was 3 yards. I know that because I started Devontae Parker. He had one catch for 3 yards and a touchdown. I'm definitely going Cardinals too. The Cardinals offense looks better every week, so I'm going Cardinals.
Okay, all right, here's the thing. I don't know what you guys want out of Tua when they were up by like 4 scores halfway through the game. Like, when you want him to come out there and start chucking balls down the field, like they were running the football a lot. I think the real reason to be concerned with Miami is they lost Gaskin, who's actually been a staple for their offense in terms of the run game, so that's huge for them. I think Tua's only going to get better as he gets opportunities. He only, threw the ball like 15 times or something in the entire game. Like, that dude didn't have to do much of anything. He did what he had to. So I think the Cardinals will probably pull out that game, but I'm not like super confident in that spread. Like I'm completely out on Cliff Kingsbury. So you guys already know how I feel. I think the Cardinals will win, but we'll see if they get the spread.
Yeah, that's an aggressive lock, Zach, just because like Tua, again, I agree he didn't look good at all, but it's like, I mean, with how good that defense is, my Dolphins friend here has updated his projection to 10-6. He thinks the Dolphins are going to go, and the Dolphins look really good. I mean, that's a little ambitious, but yeah, I'm picking the Cardinals here. But that's a tough one, Zach. I as a lock, I don't know.
Okay, I respect that. All right, so moving on to the Saints-Buccaneers game, 8:20 Sunday night game. Both teams are 2 losses. Tampa Bay is favored by 5 at home. So I'm kicking it over to you here. This is an interesting one. What do you got in this matchup? Who do you think wins?
If you want to talk about best bets, I never participate in this segment, but if you got Quan Alexander and you got Michael Thomas playing this weekend, I am taking the Saints in that best bet because I expect them to not only win that game. So I definitely expect them to cover that 5-point spread. Wow, that is some damn disrespect to a team that won week 1 against those Buccaneers. Get the heck out of here with that BS. Saints all the way, baby.
This is probably the best line. I actually think this game will decide the division. I think the Bucs win this game and win the division. But on a short week, like you said, it's disrespect to the Saints. They are at home in Tampa, but 5 points. I'll pick the Bucs and the pick 'em, but that's another great bet.
Matt?
Yeah, it's a dicey spread. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say if Michael Thomas stops beating the hell out of his teammates, he's probably back this week, I'm assuming. I think he's playing, but I'm going to go Bucs. I think they're going to bounce back. I think AB is going to revive that passing game. Not that they needed it, but from last week it was a little off. But I just can't imagine Brady keeping that within 5 points with those weapons. I mean, I don't know. Part of me wants to take the Saints to stay within 5 points, but I got to go Bucs.
That's the issue with these, because it's like if you think what the team is going to win, it's like kind of bold to say that they're going to, win but not cover.
Zach, once you make your pick, Zach, I do want to touch on something real quick. So once you make your pick, let me know.
Sounds good. I'm with Cy on this one. I think the Saints are going to pull it out. Now, I do worry, and we have talked about it on the podcast before, Breeze's I wouldn't say inability to throw downfield, but the play calling is very in the flat area, a lot of dump off screens to Alvin Kamara. My point is I think Tampa Bay understands what they're up against here. Mike Thomas needs to come back this week. I think he's still listed as questionable. I hope he comes back. Hope he comes back healthy. I'm not sure what the status of Emmanuel Sanders is either, but if they can get those guys back, I am confident in a Saints victory. For some reason, I just think the Buccaneers are overrated, much to Sai's point. And actually, Sai, speaking of which, I'll kick it over to you here.
Yeah, so the Saints corner from Florida, Chandler Johnson. I always forget how to pronounce his name. The guy from Florida that you brought up Michael Thomas in the locker room. Can we just talk about this guy's talent for getting people ejected and kicked out of games? I mean, that in itself, like, should get him paid for being a corner. Like, I mean, admittedly, it would be better if he wasn't getting his best receiver kicked out and getting the other team's worst receiver kicked out. But holy cow, I'm so impressed. Like, he's managed to get 2 guys in 3 weeks, dude. Like, that is next level gamesmanship. Shout out to that guy real quick. I just had to throw that in there.
That's pretty good. And kicking it over to our final game here. Another interesting spread, guys, on this Monday night game. The New England Patriots look for a rebound here against the New York Jets. The spread is only New England by 7. Ev, I'll kick it over to you for this final one.
I got Patriots, and I think that's a decent bet as well for them to cover because Belichick just loves trolling the Jets.
Go ahead, Penny.
That's so tough. Yeah, I'm going to go Jets. I'm going Jets. I like the way the Jets looked last week. If Darnold plays, which I think he's supposed to, I don't know who the starter is. Jameson Crowder's back this week. They definitely missed him last week. Denzel Mims is not the number 1 receiver. Rashad Perriman was also out. I don't know. I hate the Patriots with a passion, but they look awful this year. That's an aggressive line, even for this game. I think the Jets will lose, but they'll keep it within 7.
Okay, I respect that. I've got New England because I think they all are in understanding that they're not out of the playoffs yet, but they're getting close to it. 2-5, it's pretty hard to recover, but they still have a chance, especially with that additional wild card. I think they're going to I think they very much understand that in order to turn the path and turn the tide, they need to do it right now in New York against the worst team in the league. So I think they're going to come out, and I think Cam is going to have the game of his life, which is not really saying much when you're playing against a Jets secondary. But I've got New England winning big, and I actually might change my lock pick to this one right here. But Sai, kicking it over to you.
Wait, Penny, did you pick the Jets to win, or did you pick them to cover the spread?
No, I think they'll lose, but keep it within 7.
Okay. Just making sure. Because when you said the Jets, I thought you were picking them straight up. I was like, holy cow, that's a bold take.
If this was a pick 'em, hell no.
I was going to be like, that's the hottest take we've had all season. No, I'm gonna take the Patriots, and the reason I'm gonna take the Patriots is I think they finally start leaning on Mr. Damian Harris over there, who 2 out of 3 weeks is an over 100-yard rusher against that Jets defense. Just run the football and play defense. That's all you got to do, and I think that's what the Patriots are going to do. And I think they'll win, but it could be right around 7 because I think they're just going to lean on their run game and defense. So, yeah, I'm taking the Patriots.
Oh, yeah, guys. Well, I think that wraps up with the session here. Before we sign off, Matt, you want to give any last-minute words or shout-outs or anything like that, or are you just ready to sign off and go drink a beer?
I'm definitely ready. I think my girlfriend's a little weirded out that I've done 2 sports podcasts this week, so she's probably wondering what she's gotten herself into. But, appreciate you guys having me on. This was pretty cool. So if you guys need a guest in the near future, let me know.
Always, man. We love those return guests, and it's great that we gave you that hour distraction, and as soon as you jump off this thing, you can just turn to the right and watch the election results right next to you. That's just playing in the background.
See if Atlanta blows another lead, right, Zach?
Yes, sir. Matt, are you coming up to Ashburn for the holidays? Are you staying down in Raleigh?
We are spending Thanksgiving with her family, but the day after is Michael's 31st birthday, I think. 30th. I don't know. 40? Wow. All right. So the weekend of Thanksgiving, Friday through Sunday, we'll be up there, yeah.
All right, cool. Sounds good. We'll definitely catch up then. But thanks, everyone, for listening once again. And this is one of our longer ones, but this is Mondays Down South. Thanks again.
Peace.